Rocio is available for translation. And how does that occur, Rocio? What do people need to do?
Yes, so I'm gonna switch to Spanish. Si
Okay.
gustarían escuchar la junta en español, por favor, oprimen el icono de interpretación, escojan español y van a escuchar la junta en español. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And if we can have everyone put their name and email in the chat so that we know you are here, we'd appreciate it.
Kathy, I can no longer see your face.
Thank you. Okay, so this is Carrie Earl of Earls Grille over on Crenshaw, and I won't introduce him. He's so exciting. The business is so exciting, and I will allow him to tell his story. But what I do want you to know about him is that they started a cart business and they did some events. That's when I met or became familiar with them and their product. And then they started a restaurant, went to full service catering, sort of like Who's Who that wanted to have a great party. They began to cater for that crowd, and into a community leader where I was so excited when Gavin Newsom announced the nutritional requirement, the program to feed seniors, and that it was Earls Grille. And I have to say, the meals that you guys put out were beautiful. I was like, what are they doing over there?
Thank you.
So don't think that they're just hot dogs. They apparently have an extensive nutritional background because those meals had to be nutritionally balanced. And apparently they have a repertoire that we're not familiar with. So this is going to be exciting to find out about. And one thing I want to say here is that they have always maintained a standard of excellence anywhere I've seen him. First time I saw Earl's Grille was just hot dogs at the park. The next time I saw them, they had a stainless steel setup with French fries to die for. So we're gonna learn about how to become the quintessential food entrepreneur and community leader of inclusivity at the same time. So we're all ready to hear the story. Carrie?
What do you want me to start from? The beginning?
Yeah, that'd be a good place.
Okay.
You can even start from your idea before, if you like.
I started at Venice Beach about 1980, 82 maybe. I was at Venice Beach. I saw some guys down the street. I think they were connected with Jody Maroney's.
Oh.
And they were actually at Venice Beach and they were grilling hot dogs at the beach. And I'm sorry, ladies, should I look into the camera?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, because this is all
camera.
new, sorry.
Yeah.
But I started grilling hot dogs. I mean, I saw them grilling hot dogs. I decided I would do that. So literally the next day I quit school, quit my job, and I started building a hot dog cart. And about a month later, I was at Venice Beach and I started selling hot dogs at Venice Beach. And for the first 2 months that I was there, I made no money. Absolutely not. I lost money every day. And then I went from Venice Beach to the alley downtown. I did that for a few days. I went from there. I was just bouncing around the valley. I ended up eventually at the Crenshaw Swap Meet at Malton and King. Most people know it as the old Barker Brothers furniture store across the street from the Magic Johnson Theaters. Well, actually, this was before the theaters were built. Started there in the mid 80s, was there for about maybe 12 years. In 92, opened up the first restaurant right after the Rodney King riots at 43rd and Crenshaw. It's now called Taco Mel. I built that place there for 17 years. And then I moved down the street to Jack's Chili Factory at Crenshaw and Expo. I was there for approximately 7 years. Metro came along and said, we want the place. They helped me relocate to where I am today. This used to be called Mama's. I've been here now for 4 years. Took me about 4 years to build it, and I'm at 39th and Crenshaw.
Awesome. So Carrie, how did you even, I mean, what kept you motivated when you're not making money in this industry and you're going out there every day with your custom made cart? Don't leave that out. How do you keep doing it? I mean, how did you get from not making money every day to getting a contract to feed seniors?
There's a lot of time in between, a lot of, it was a growing experience. One of the things I always tell a lot of people is that, you know, young people, and I was young at the time, we feel we know everything and we don't. The most important thing that you can do when you're getting into business for yourself is to research. Not necessarily just book research or internet research, but talk to people in that field. And after you've talked to 10 people in the field, go and find 10 more people in the field. You'll talk to 20 people and you'll get 20 different answers. And then what you do is you put it all together. I didn't do any of that. And that's because I felt I knew everything and there was nothing for me to learn. So, and that's also why for the first 2 years in business, I fell flat on my face. Why was I able to do that and to continue? Because I had a roof over my head. I was living with my uncle. So I didn't have to worry about being homeless. If I didn't pay rent, I always had a place to stay. So it gave me the luxury of being able to go out there and make money or not make money because I knew I would have food and I would have a roof over my head. But that started to wear thin with him, and I had to stop working the hot dog cart, get a job, and then I cautiously got back in. I started doing research. I started learning from my mistakes, and then I got back into it.
So let's talk a little bit about the standard. What type of person are you that didn't do your research, but you were able to create and maintain a quality and a standard that hasn't wavered from the wandering cart to where you are now? So even in your research and not knowing, you still had a upward bound standard. How did you have that from not knowing how to do it?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, I'm a workaholic, and you don't realize you're a workaholic until you get into the restaurant business. And second, I started having kids. And also, when you have those responsibilities, you get to the point where you don't have a choice. You can't quit. You have to keep going. So having kids and being in this business, there's no going back, you know?
Mm.
So that was my motivation. I had kids to feed.
So your customer service and your standard of how your carts looked, how your hot dogs came out, how did you establish that? Because you had that from the gate. Was that
No, not necessarily. My carts were built. I tell you a story. When I first went to the Crenshaw swap meet, um, the Crenshaw swap meet, basically most people know us from the Crenshaw swap meet. How did we get that location? We were driving through the parking lot. Excuse me one second. Can you read that, folks? We were driving through the parking lot, and I told my brother, I said, you know what? We're going to set up in front of this building. The next day, we came with a hot dog cart. We set up in the front. We had no permission to be there. The people that ran the swap meet came outside. They looked at us, and we didn't look at them. We gave them the impression that we were in our rights, that we had permission, and they left us alone. So we did that for about maybe 6 months on weekends, Saturdays and Sundays. The cart that we were using at the time was not an LA County approved hot dog cart. It didn't meet all the requirements. But because we were working on the weekends, we didn't really think too much of it. There was no health department on weekends. What happened was that we got greedy. We were making so much money on the weekends, we decided to come on a Monday. And when we showed up on Monday, the woman that actually was the property manager, she didn't work on weekends. She happened to see us on Monday and all hell broke loose. She called the police department. She called building and safety. She called the health department. Everybody came. And it was a good thing because when they came, they didn't just say you can't do this. They said you have to do this to be able to stay here. So I came back 3 months later with all the requirements that they gave me. And I was able to stay there for the next about 12 years.
Wow. So I read that you also built your first cart.
Yeah, I went to school, my high school, I went to school for engineering. So I used my engineering background to build the first cart, which was not a LA County approved cart, but it was still a nice cart. And once we were booted off, then I had to come back with an LA County approved cart, which means you had to meet county requirements, hot and cold running water. stainless steel, everything that the counter required, I had to meet those requirements, and my carts did. What happened is once I built that first cart, we came back, I started building carts for sale, and I started selling carts out of my house.
Beautiful. So you went from carts to the restaurant. How did you also then continue on into catering? What brought that on?
I gotta say, I kind of leapfrogged into that. My daughter's mother and Keenan Wayans' ex-wife, Daphne, they were good friends. They went to high school, I think, together. So one day, Daphne called me and she said, "Hey, Keenan Jr., which is Keenan Wayans' oldest son, he's turning 1. Would you like to do his birthday party?" And at the same time, she said, "Will Smith's son, Jaden, is turning 1, and they're going to have a joint birthday party. It was for over 200 people. Would you like to do it?" I said, "Of course." So that was my introduction to catering. I didn't necessarily pay my dues with catering. I didn't work my way up. It was just thrown at me, and we stepped up to the plate. And that was one of my first catering jobs.
So that was another one of your amazing pivots.
Well,
Just kind of pivoted into it, and
you gotta, it's one of those things where I didn't look at it at the time. To me, it was an opportunity. I could have said no, I wasn't ready for it. And in actuality, I wasn't really ready for it. I'd never done anything for 200 people. But, we have a motto with our catering, and that is we make it happen. You tell me what you're looking for, we'll make it happen. And that's what we do.
and so how did that event come out for you? How do you think it went?
Excellent. From that point on, that's where the catering snowballed. And
Mhm.
all of our catering is word of mouth. We don't advertise the catering. We don't have, you might go on the website, you might see that we cater, but it won't give you the menu. We like it that way. I have a friend that has a business similar to mine, and he does a lot of catering. And I use him as my uh, sort of like nemesis, but in a good way. And that is
Mhm.
because he does a tremendous amount of advertising. He has a tremendous amount of carts, and I go the opposite. I don't have a lot of carts, don't have a lot of personnel, and I do a lot less parties than he does. So my company with catering is more like a boutique company as opposed to him, where he is more mass. He likes to do a lot of parties, volume.
Mhm. So as we're talking about you pivoting as a company and just really being able to spin into what's going on and make it work, how did the Newsome, how did the meals go? How did that pivot go?
The meals went well. When this thing first started happening, I lost all my catering. Catering starts for us in March, and it goes till November. And when it first happened, I was extremely selfish because my first thoughts were, "Oh my God, we've lost all of our catering jobs." We had schools lined up, we had private parties lined up. Um, in the month of March, all the way to September, we probably do about maybe 8 to 10 parties per week. And we had lost all that. And the reason why I say I was selfish is because, I'm sitting here thinking about potential earnings while people are losing their lives. That was a very selfish thing on my part. Um, so didn't realize that I would get a call from Marquise Dawson from his district, and he stepped up to the plate and he started doing these senior meals. He asked us if we could help, and of course we said we could. There was a small stipend that was paid to the restaurants that were helping, and it helped me keep my staff on board. And we did that with him for, I don't know, 12 or 13 weeks. And wasn't hard because a lot of the meals had to be low sodium, they had to be healthy. And a lot of my guys that work in the back kitchen have a lot of experience with soul food. We have guys that used to work for Stevie's on the Strip. I got guys that used to work for Family Kitchen up on Florence. So they have a lot of experience doing soul food. The only thing we had to teach ourselves is how to do the soul food where it's not salty, no salt at all. We had to keep sugar away, salt away, and we learned. We also teamed up with a company called Beyond Meat, and they started giving me a lot of their product, providing I would use it to feed the elderly. So we started doing things like vegan meatloaf, vegan lasagna, vegan spaghetti, vegan burritos. It got to the point where I couldn't tell the elderly that it was vegan. Uh, a lot of them would call me and tell me, don't bring any more vegan stuff to their house, but keep bringing that spaghetti. So I had to not tell them it was vegan anymore, and they loved it. So um, the elderly meals went well. Uh, I'm sorry to end it. I'm getting ready to start a GoFundMe within the next 2 weeks or so that I can continue doing it myself, because I think a lot of people have forgotten that these elderly people are still at home, and they've been at home for much longer than we have, and they're home by themselves and they're terrified. And it's very important that I continue doing this.
That's beautiful. And then you went on to do the first responders. What was that like?
I started doing I didn't do GoFundMe. I just started calling clients that I do parties for, and I said, hey, I need help. So I did everything from securing N95, the mask, to we did Sentinel a couple of times. We did Cedars a couple of times, Children's Hospital. We did Kaiser. Um, we would just contact the hospital and coordinate with them, and we would do anywhere from 150 to 200 meals. And I mean, I can't even tell you the satisfaction it gave us. When I did these things, or when my, not I, but when my crew and I did these things, we weren't looking for any type of, pat on our back. One of the greatest things I think that this pandemic has brought out in people is that people are helping people. I've never seen this before.
Yeah, yeah. It is a beautiful thing. I love how you just really came out and did that. How do we support your GoFundMe? Where will we find that?
Well, I'm going to launch it. One of the reasons I haven't launched it as yet is because I know that once I do, I have to be ready. I'm not going to stop.
Yes.
But even when this is over, I'm going to continue. One of the things that I must say that helped me tremendously,
Mm-hmm.
I work with South Traffic, LAPD over here at the mall. Great people. When I told them what I was going to do with the elderly meals, a bunch of the officers said, hey, we'll help you. So 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, they would pull up with their van. I would give them a list of about maybe 50 seniors for them to go and drop off meals. And I would send them on their way with the meals, and they would go out there and they would drop the meals off. And they didn't ask for any recognition. They didn't ask for anybody to say, hey, look what we're doing. They just did it to help. So I couldn't do this by myself. There was a lot of people. It was a big team helping doing this.
Well, you really must be living right, because you've magnetized a whole community since I met you there at Virginia Park in a way that that appears to be ideal. I'm sure there were obstacles and different things that occurred along the way, but it's like I didn't even know how many people are aware of the company. And what is it? Earls Cares is your
Yeah, Earls Grille is a nonprofit. I started that specifically to work with the elderly. And like I said, probably within the next 2 weeks, I'm going to launch it. And,
Mhm.
I'm just trying to get myself and my crew ready. I talked to one of my guys today, one of my staff members, and, we were just reflecting on the fact that over the last 8 or 9 months, we've been working really hard. And, my crew's tired. Everybody's tired. And not physically, mentally.
Yeah.
You know? And so.
So you're tired, and what is that? So
Well,
rest before the reopening.
rest before we start doing these meals again, because we know that once we start,
Yeah. Yeah.
even if things were to open back up miraculously, we're not going to stop.
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
beautiful.
we felt that there were so many elderly people that when I say elderly or old to you, you think of old or elderly people. But then when you actually start going out there and you're seeing them at home by themselves, they can't be around their kids, can't be around their grandkids, and then you put yourself in that position. You say, man, how could I survive 8 or 9 months locked in my home? They've been doing it. You know, we've been lucky enough to go outside, but they've been told in the beginning that if they go outside, they're going to die.
Mm,
So you can imagine how fearful they are, you know?
yeah,
And so I need to get back to that.
that's awesome. That's awesome. So in regards to Earl's Grill and the community and the family that you've grown, how does that occur? I met your mom. She is just so cute.
Thank you.
And I know your kids must be older now. How old are your, tell
You,
tell us about your family.
well, my son is 31. And he helps me here in my shop. He's my right hand. I've got three girls, 29, 28, and 21. And, you know, the 29, 28, the 29-year-old, she graduated from Parsons New School. She's an artist. The 28, she graduated from Berkeley. The 21-year-old now goes to Berkeley. Uh, you know, I've got some good kids, really smart kids.
And what does your mom do in the business?
What does she not do? Right now, we just try to keep her out of it. That's all. But she fights me on that. She
Oh,
comes
that's
down and you know, she's the ambassador. She likes to talk to customers. She likes to spend time with the customers. Um, we try to keep that to a limit, maybe every other day, that sort of thing, just to kind of
Mhm.
weigh a little bit. It's hard, but we're trying.
You know, I read the article in the Sentinel about you, and it was interesting to me. At the end of the article, they said that you are starting to promote um, other, you're creating opportunity. And it was interesting because when you first opened your restaurant, you were already promoting businesses. Is that correct?
Yes, you know, um, listen, I'm not a stingy person. When I first got into business, I had nobody to help me. Everyone that I met that had experience wanted to sell me the information.
Mm,
So I have restaurant owners that come up to me and they pick my brain. And I don't mean that in a bad way. They ask me questions, and of course they pick in my brain, and I don't mind giving them my time. Um, I'm you know, there's enough business to go around, and you know, as restaurant owners, we have to stick together. I'm not involved in any type of formal restaurant association, but you know, I respect restaurant owners. We work really hard. We don't make a lot of money, you know. For the most part, most restaurant owners that I know, we earn a living. That's what we do. But
hmm
we love what we do, and that's why we continue to keep doing it. You know, you can't work 18 hours a day, and I'm exaggerating a little bit. Minimum, let's say maybe 14. You can't do 14 to 18 hours a day and not like what you do.
Yes,
Doesn't make sense. You have to like
yes,
it.
absolutely. I agree. So, Carrie, what would you tell a new food entrepreneur that's just starting out? Three things that they should be aware of moving forward that would give them some insight. There are all these schools now, and everything that you need to know, let's face it, it doesn't come up in the curriculum. Um, and so there's so many ways to go about this food entrepreneur moving forward in 2020. Your pivot skills, your average person's not going to have that. They're going to be like, what? No, no. So what advice would you give someone in this industry that's beginning to look at going about starting a food entrepreneur business?
Good question. Very simple. You know, I'll give you an example. I had a friend of mine. Well, he's still my friend, Leroy Richardson. And I remember years ago, Leroy is in his 60s. Leroy wanted to learn how to frame posters because he's a black movie poster collector.
Mhm.
So what did he do at 60 years old? He went to Aaron's Brothers and got a job. And he worked there for 6 months. And during that time that he worked there, he became an expert at framing. And
Wow.
he left, and now he knows how to frame. So what I would suggest to potential entrepreneurs is research, do as much internet research, book research as you can. And even when you think you've done enough, do more. Talk to as many people as you can about the business. And that includes the staff, that includes business owners. And then after you've talked to them and you've made the rounds and you've talked to 10 other restaurants, you come back and you talk to them again. And then if you can, get a job in that field. If you want to open up a fish market, get a job in a fish market. You want to open up a Burger King franchise, get a job in Burger King. Learn from the ground up. You don't have to be there for the next 6 years, but at least get into the field so that you can get a feel for it before you commit your money, your time. Research 6 months out of your life, as opposed to, you know, I wasted about 3 years. No, let me take that back. I didn't waste. I spent 3 years learning the business while I was not making any money. And if I had done 6 months of research, that could have saved me 3 years plus a tremendous amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
Much research as you can, you know, even if it takes 6 months, 6 months is nothing. Research, research. And then because during that research, you might decide, you know what, this is not for me before you commit all that money and time.
Beautiful. That is important. So I'm going to open it up to see if anyone has any questions in the chat, or Michael, to any questions for Carrie coming up. Yeah, someone says they need to try the vegan dog and link.
It's really good. It's all plant-based, company called Field Grows.
How did you like working with that product?
I'm not a vegan, so
Mhm.
what I did, I tell you a funny story. When I opened back up, I had a customer, Michael Beckwith
Yes.
from Augusta, and he came into my kitchen and he started going through all my vegan products, and he just literally started tossing stuff, saying you can't sell this, you can't sell this, and I thought he lost his mind. But then uh, he gave me a little insight into some of the products that I was selling, as opposed to just reading the labels. One of the insights was, you know, about the soy. And from that point on, I started looking for plant-based vegan products. So the burger we carry is Beyond Meat. It's a plant-based burger. At the time, we were carrying hot dogs that were soy-based, but based on my conversation with Reverend Beckwith, we started carrying a brand called Field Roast. So it was all due to him pushing me in that direction, and that's why we carry plant-based.
That's fantastic. Sidebar, have you ever done a interview with Reverend Hilton?
No.
What's her name? Anyway, there's a live food ministry at Agape, and they do some cooking for the community.
Okay.
Like a cooking show. So that might be interesting, because I know a lot of times we do partner. I'm a licensed practitioner with Agape.
Okay.
A lot of times we do partnerships and say, you know, everybody go over to Earl's and try this as a way for him to promote healthy eating. So that'll be fun to explore moving forward.
Well, a lot of people got their start through there. I mean, um, stuff I eat in Inglewood, she started there in the parking lot.
Mhm.
Remember, Babette? You know, so I got to give them a lot of credit, and I got to give a lot of credit also to Purcell at Simply Wholesome. You know, all
Yes.
the vegan stuff that I sell, you know, he gave me a tremendous amount of information.
Mhm.
He's the kind of person where, you know, I could always give him a call and he would say, hey, come on down here, let me show you this product. I mean, because I knew nothing about vegan products. And then there was another woman that gave me a lot of help. Her name was Lydia Taylor. She had a place in the mall parking lot called Vegetarian Affair.
Mm,
She was a 7-day Adventist. And
mm-hmm,
she, like Purcell, gave me a tremendous amount of information. So going back to what I was saying to you about sharing information
mm-hmm.
was shared with me. So I don't feel that I have the right to hold on to that information. You know, people shared information with me and they made things easier for me. So I have to share information.
That's beautiful and very generous of you. A lot of people in the industry often hold tight to the information, and I think it actually limits things. It limits our success because you're holding on so tight.
Holding on for it to do what with it? To take it with you,
Yeah, to where?
you know?
Robbie Jones says, I've worked in the business before. What's new now?
Say again?
She says she's worked in the business before, and what's new now and what's different?
COVID. That's it. COVID has made everything, everything that you've learned is out the window. You've got to, here's the thing with COVID. As you open the doors every day, there are new regulations coming up on a daily basis, and you have to keep up with them. You've got to listen to the news every day. You have to, excuse me, you have to listen to the news every day. You have to, the health department, they're doing the best they can with the information that's given to them. So I don't fault them at all. There are days where they tell us one thing and 2 days later, they tell us something else. But this is not a good, this is an environment where everybody's learning as we go from day to day. So, we're just trying to keep up with the information and we're trying to follow whatever guidelines they tell us to. I don't agree with the new, outside, no dining outside.
Mm-hmm.
But, we got away, we took away all our tables and chairs. I don't agree with it. I feel it's going to make a lot of restaurants go under if they
Yeah.
can't have the outside dining. I hope that's overturned, but I'm not going to fight it. We have to follow the rules, but I just hope that's overturned pretty quickly.
Yeah, I agree. That's got to be a stop sign, big time. Nafar, someone says, what's the company to contact when trying to open a vegan restaurant?
No company. Go to every vegan restaurant you can.
That's right.
And see what they're selling. Take a look at their operation. Take a look how big they are, how much staff they have, because that'll dictate whether or not you go for a window takeout to a sit down. That's all research. Don't worry about the food. That part is easy to get. The main thing is you have to decide, what do I want to do? Is this going to be full service where people come in and sit down, or is it takeout, or do I want to even start with a truck? That's how you start first.
And so that kind of answers her next question. What's the best brands?
Research, talk to people. Every day when we have vegans come in here or vegetarians, I talk to them. I say to them, right now there's a toss-up between the Impossible Burger and the Beyond Meat Burger. Some like the Impossible Burger, some like Beyond Meat. Unfortunately, in my case, because the Impossible Burger has soy, I can't sell it here. It's a good tasting burger, but I also feel that anything you do, you have to do everything in moderation. At the end of the day, the best food that you could ever want to eat is the food you cook at home, period.
Okay. Someone says, how would you characterize your leadership supervision style with your employees?
Lead by example. If somebody comes in here and says, hey, the toilet is stopped up, I'm the first one to grab the plunger. So I've done that enough times where they don't even ask me anymore. They know that because I will never ask them to do anything that I won't do, ever.
You're awesome, Carrie. I liked you before. Now I love you, man. Reading all the information about you is so great. You know, and then that staying power that you have. Also, I didn't know that I was watching you for those many years. I can't believe your kids are that age.
Yes, they are.
I don't even know how that happened. It's kind of interesting. I've been in the industry for 40 years. I had specifically high-end catering company, but you know, you watch everything and everybody and what's going on, and you've been right on the top the whole time. Let's see, what else should I ask about you? You're so interesting. You like old cars, so that's one of the things that you do for the network. And do you have a car club?
No, that's my vice. I build old cars. There are times where I've forego paying rent to go buy an old car.
So
It's
have you
not
been to the Peterson Museum?
all the time, all the time. I
Nice.
mean, I just love old cars. I don't drink, I don't smoke, so that's my vice. I just love old cars. You
That's
know,
awesome.
you know, sometimes they're sitting in someone's backyard right now that I have, and they're uncompleted, but they're mine, and I know I'll get to it. So
So someone says, I love your abundance mindset you have. Someone else says, how did you manage your failure?
get up. That's it.
Keep on getting up.
Just get up. Get up and and you know, that's not a saying that I think I've invented, but I've heard a lot of people that are very successful people say, you know, every time you get hit, just get up, get back up, and keep going. You know, failure is when you keep doing the same thing over and over again. But that first time you get hit, if you learn from that and you get back up and you try it a different way, then it was just a lesson. It wasn't a failure at all.
Preach. How do you define success?
Quality time with your family. That's it. It's not defined by money.
Right. And then Eric Johnson asks, what advice do you have for someone who's looking to start a restaurant or food truck or food pop-up? I think you've answered it, but
Well, but another thing I didn't say was try not to use your own money. Try to get people to invest in you. Friends, family, grants, not loans. Try to get people to invest in you. You know, a lot of times when you use your own money, the issue with that is you become emotionally attached. And
tell it.
when you use your own money, you're not as daring because you worked hard for that money. Not to say that if you have someone else's money, you're going to be very nonchalant. I think what happens is when you're using someone else's money that you didn't work for, you tend to be a little bit more daring. You'll take chances, and those chances sometimes pay off. But if you use your own money, you're very conservative with it because you're like, you know, I worked hard for this. So the first step to going into business is never use your own money. That's if you can avoid it.
Mm, okay. Ask you. Robbie Jones says, you are amazing. I love you.
Thank you.
Your way of thinking. Yes, Robbie, this is being taped. The park says that was the best advice you've received. What's the best advice you've received in the past year?
Best advice that I've received. Um, I would break that down to everything that happened pre-COVID doesn't matter to me. Doesn't matter anymore. And you know, the 12 or 13 weeks that we were doing the meals for the elderly and the thank yous that we got from them and the encouragement from them and the, you know, we did an extra step when we were doing those meals. We would get a list and the list would say, here's 120, 50, whatever. And we would split that list up into routes and we would send people out. The extra step we did was that I would have volunteers. I had a volunteer in Arizona. I had my daughter in New York. I had volunteers out here, and I would take those 120 um, elderly, and I would split them up, and I would give everybody anywhere from 20 to 30 people. And the day before we were supposed to go out with the meals, I would have my staff and my volunteers call them to say, hey, how are you doing today? This is the meal that's coming tomorrow. But as you already know, when you call an elderly person, there's no such thing as a 1-minute conversation.
Yeah.
And
Being that contact person, that one person.
I just feel, doing the meals for the elderly, that's the best feeling I've ever had in a long time. There's no money involved, but just being able to help them, it brought a lot of gratitude to me. I'm sorry.
That's a beautiful thing. And that's what makes the world work. I mean, that divine circulation of receiving and being able to give, that excellence that you give made it invaluable, probably to everybody, the giving and the receiving. Awesome.
So when you ask me about advice, it's like, I can't wait to get back to doing that. I got a lot of pleasure out of that. The conversations that my staff had, my volunteers, when they talked to them, and then we would actually call them the day after the meals to find out everything. So we went, beyond what we were supposed to do, and we enjoyed it. A lot of my volunteers started developing relationships with them. I have one assistant that works from home, and she has one elderly person that they talk about knitting all the time. They still call it to this day. So
Like I said, you're a community leader and you're building community. I didn't even know to what extent I knew, but now it's out. Now we know who you really are. Someone says, we respect you even more, dude. Peace be to your soul. Someone else says, thank you for your food service ministry to others. Amazing, paying it forward. Thank you for all you do for the community. Told you we love you, man. Okay, so does anybody else have any questions? Florence, go get me a hot dog. Wrap it in foil. It's a long ways to Camarillo. Someone said, Robbie says giving is more rewarding than receiving.
Absolutely, it is. It is.
So your place is actually becoming a community hub, kind of.
Well, it's evolving. We're doing this thing called Meatless Mondays, where we invite vegan vendors, entrepreneurs to come down and sell vegan or vegetarian food in the front. And we've been doing it now for, I think, 14 weeks. It's becoming bigger, and I get a lot of good feedback from the neighbors, from the people in the building. They love it. Just trying to create some, you can't eat my food every day. So we're trying to bring a lot of healthy options down here to the community. You got to remember something. In this part of town, people try to make it seem as though that we've never had healthy food. But, if you go back 20 years, I'm not sure if you remember, there used to be a place called The Good Life, not too far from here, right at Exposition and Crenshaw. Then you had Lydia Taylor over there in the parking lot called Vegetarian Affair, parking lot of the mall. You had Simply Wholesome, of course.
Right.
And there were a few other places. So we had healthy food. And I think either where I am now or next door, I'm going to go back 30 years, used to be a place called Sisters.
Oh, right.
And and
Man.
they were ahead of their time. They were juicing and making organic sandwiches. So we've always had healthy food down here. It's just a matter of it coming back. That's all.
Carrie, how did you get, what made you do a stage for the marathon? That was pretty amazing.
Well, you know, you remember the marathon used to run down Crenshaw Boulevard.
Yeah.
And one morning I came out, I saw the bikes going by, and I went back inside and I brought a speaker out and I started playing some jazz. And, you know, after the bikes went by, then the runners came by and we started passing out water. And, you know, one thing led to another. And I look forward to it every year. And one year I had a reggae band, I had a rock and roll band, one year I think I had Leon Mobley, you know, the drummer, he played.
Mhm.
And it was just something that I had a lot of pleasure in doing, watching the runners go by. They moved up to Sunset Boulevard and I followed them. So I
Oh,
set up a stage in front of the old Circuit City on Sunset Boulevard.
oh yeah, that's a
That
big
building is now
spot.
owned by Children's Hospital. That's mile marker 8. And we set up there every year and we play music and cheer the runners on.
That is so awesome. Does anybody else have any questions? Because my last question is about the part that I really didn't know about you being a rapper.
That was my brother.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was like, that's a hidden personality. How did I miss it?
That was my brother.
Boom, 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 boom,
He,
boom, boom, boom.
no, he's the rapper. He used to rap. He used to do stuff with Eazy, Ice Cube.
Oh,
He used to write. So that's my brother. His
okay. I'm
name,
sorry about
Don Jaguar, Earl the Poet. That was him, not me.
Jaguar. Thank you for sharing from your heart and your vulnerability. Someone wants to know what time on Monday for Meatless Mondays?
11 to 5, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m.
11 a.m. to 5. Someone wants to know about the books in the background there. What kind of, what books have inspired you?
I'm gonna grab some. Well, this one is organizing for the creative person. This is the Pan African Film Festival. I always keep this because sometimes I try to look up those movies. They don't show very long. This one was given to me recently. This is one I used to share with my customers. It says the graves are not yet full.
Mm,
And this one is a great book, Growing Concerns, Building and Managing the Small Business.
mm,
And this was actually from Harvard Business School. That's just
okay.
some of them. Those are the books I like to keep around me.
Okay.
So when it's time for me to thumb through something, I mean, I know I can go on the internet and find everything I need, but I like books.
So that would be at the 19th hour after the workday.
Now, sometimes actually, the best time I can read and get things done is I get in here sometimes at 5 a.m.
Yes.
My staff gets in at 7. So if I get in here from 5 to 7, that's my time.
You can have some peace.
That's it. After that, it's done.
So Robbie Jones says we're bringing a community hub back to our community in Santa Monica called Just Family Cafe. I've worked for Black Business and Expo for 6 years. I would love to speak with you and pick your brain. Also, great idea, Meatless Mondays. Best way to contact you.
Okay. Can I give my cell phone number?
Sure, you want to put it in or you want me to put it in the chat?
Yeah, please. Anyone
Okay.
can call me.
Okay.
It's you have it, or should I say it?
Is it 323-974?
8255.
Okay. Okay, does anybody else have any questions for Carrie? Oh, how did the turkeys go? I heard it was off the,
Turkeys went well. It was a lot of work. I haven't done it in a long time since I was down at Jack's Chili Factory. And so we're going to do it every year, every Thanksgiving. It was a lot of work,
okay.
but it was fun.
Oh, tell people what it was, by the way.
Well, we actually, the way it started, there's a school not too far from here called Crete Elementary. It's a charter school. They're located at, I think it's like 65th and Crenshaw. LAPD came to me, South Traffic, and they said, hey, we've identified some kids at the school that there's 200 students that go to the school. And they said 50 of those students either sleep in their cars or are in shelters with their parents. And we want to give them a Thanksgiving something. I said, no problem. So I reached out to my suppliers and I said, I need some help. My suppliers gave me product. Costco gave us turkeys. So we provided the school. We fed about 150 people, siblings and the students. And we did Thanksgiving meal. We did deep fried turkeys, greens, potato salad, mac and cheese, coleslaw, cornbread. And I got the LAPD as my crew to man the Schaefer's, and they dished out the food. And since we were out there deep frying the turkeys, we said, hey, why don't we just do it for Thanksgiving also? And that's how the idea started.
Fantastic. That's so awesome. So Carrie, I think I'm gonna thank you for joining us and giving us all this information. Love it, love it, love it, love you. And so much gratitude for everything you're doing. Say hi to your mom. Oh, and what's the future of Earls? Are you gonna open up one in Santa Monica, anywhere else? We're just wondering how far we have to travel for hot dogs.
I think probably within a year, I'm actually going to try to help a lot of entrepreneurs putting carts out on the streets. I think we're going back to where once things open back up, you'll find that there's a lot of people that are out of work. And I think the quickest way to put people back to work is to, some people have that entrepreneur spirit. And if I can provide them with a hot dog cart where they can go out there and they can earn a living. So it's an idea that I had 30 years ago. So it's coming back around full circle.
That's awesome. Well, you know, we're starting this incubator program and maybe we can do some things together.
I'd love to work with you. Definitely.
That's awesome. So I want to thank you again. Thank you so much for coming and thank everyone for participating. Oh, one other question, sorry. Okay, now did you change your logo? Because I remember seeing a Z in there once upon a time.
Yeah, we were playing around with the names. I had some young people trying to tell me, call it Earls Grille, and you know, when it first started off as Earls Wieners. And I had a lady who was extremely bright woman. She worked for Smart and Final doing marketing. And she said, I need to change the name to Earls Grille. She said, because the word wieners may alienate a lot of people. And she was right. Because until I changed it to Earls Grille, most of the vegans and vegetarians weren't coming. As soon as I did that, they started coming. Somewhere along the line, I had some smart young people working for me. They decided I should call it Earls Grille with a Z. We had it like that for a while, but now it's just Earls on Crenshaw. We love the name Crenshaw, so that's why it was really important that we call it Earls on Crenshaw. I think you're going to find that the word Crenshaw is starting to slowly disappear. So we're trying to keep it alive.
That's awesome. Much success to you and thanks again.
Thank you.
My last question. I'll call you back.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Thank you, Kerr.
Michael, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Alive, Robbie. Staying alive, staying alive. Keep Crenshaw alive. Just kidding.
Yes, that was wonderful.
Wasn't that great, Carla?
Oh my gosh.